Okay, on this tutorial we are going to be drawing some of the world famous Lego blocks. You guys will be learning some new skills and some new tools, refining some others. I suppose the big thing is, and I might as well open up SketchUp and get going here, is that to this point we've only been drawing in mostly inches, feet and inches, things along those lines. For this project we want to make sure that we are using millimeters, which is the metric system. So make sure you go up here and choose template, get millimeters, and then we'll start using SketchUp. If you don't do that, it's going to kind of mess everything up, as we go throughout this. So that's very important. All right, my SketchUp's open. I might as well expand it here so that you guys may get a better view of everything that's going on. I'm going to try to kind of talk through this, but before I really kind of take off with this, I want to make sure that get out your SketchUp quick reference card so that you guys can see. I'm going to talk about shortcuts instead of actually going over here and clicking on all the different tools and things like that. I'm just going to hit certain keys on my keyboard, and that will bring up those tools. So I'll refer to it either as a quick reference card or shortcuts, a shortcut card, things along those lines, just so that you guys know what I'm talking about ahead of time. So here we go. First thing, start with a rectangle, and you guys may want to have print out. There's going to be a drawing along with this assignment, so that gives you the measurements. You might want to print that, have that out, bring it up on your Chromebook, whatever you want to do, and make sure that that's there for you so that you can see the measurements. That, or you may take notes as you go, kind of jotting down numbers just on some scratch pad, because we're going to kind of fly through this once we get going here. So Legos, they're very small. When I start to click these numbers, you're going to see that how crazy small this is. And so let's go ahead and start right on our axis there. And our first size rectangle is going to be 16 by 32. I hit enter. It is very, very small in there. I'm going to zoom in by scrolling on my wheel there. And by the way, in order to get this, instead of clicking on the rectangle tool, I just hit the letter R, and that gave me my rectangle tool. I'm pushing on the scroll wheel, and that's letting me orbit. Scrolling up, and that's zooming me in. And that's probably about good for this drawing. Okay, next thing we want to do is push-pull that rectangle to give it to the proper thickness, and that's going to go 8 millimeters up. So we hit P for push-pull, and I'm going to drag it up just to start it. I've only clicked once, and now I'm going to type 8 and enter, and now I've got the beginning of my Lego block. All right, so one of the new things that we are going to learn here is we are going to learn how to kind of divide lines rather than having to measure absolutely everything. So the first one, let's just start with this line. If I single click that with a left click and then I right click it, I get all the options, and we are now going to divide it. And when I hit divide, I get all sorts of these little dots and things like that. I can do that by dragging it. If you want to get it to the right thing, that's fine. But really, what I'm going to do, no matter where we drag it to, is I'm going to override that by typing 4 and hitting enter. That line is now divided. I'm going to do the same down here. Right click, divide, 4, and enter. And now you can see if I click on it, I've got individual line segments here. And that'll be nice later on, as you'll see. I'm doing some math here. I got to count this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're back at it here. I had to look up my measurement there. We're going to divide this one 8. So I go, same thing, select with the left click. I right click on it. Now I hit divide. It's all changing all over the place. I'm going to override it by typing 8, enter. Same on the other side. Divide, 8, enter. Okay, so now we're going to run some guidelines. So instead of going over here to the tape measure tool, I can just hit T, and I get my guidelines set up. We'll start over here. I guess I should talk more about that. If I click on a point to start my tape measure, it wants to go to an exact thing. I don't want to do that. Control Z is the same as going up here to edit and hitting undo. So I just hit Control Z to undo that. I don't want to start from one line, so I want to make sure that it's on an edge, but it's just on any edge, so the thing will be red. And then I'm dragging it in, and I'm getting kind of this parallel line with this side that I started from, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to go to a midpoint. I want to go until this one ends, so now I'm going to use where I divided my line at exactly 4 millimeters, and I'm going to do that again to my next point. and to my last point. Okay, now I have those in there. I'm going to do the same thing going the other way here. And just to show you a new way to do that, I hit the space bar to get my select tool. I selected my first guideline, select my second guideline, and I want to make copies of those. So I do that by, I could go over and click on the move tool, but I could also just hit M. So now I have the move tool, and I'm going to make copies of just 2 lines so it goes a little bit faster. And I'm going to repeat that process down here. And I think I just need one more guideline now. Alright, so that was spacebar. Getting back to the select tool. And you want to have this on the top of your Lego block. Alright, it is now time to draw some circles for our well-known Lego blocks here. So I could go over to the circle tool and click that. I could also just hit C for circle. And one thing to pay attention to, when I first hit the C key or click on it, down here, SketchUp actually kind of makes you define the amount of sides in your circle. And so what we're going to do right off the bat is we're going to increase that. We'll see if it'll go to 48 and let it work here. Alright, so I went to 48. That'll give me a more defined circle here. And the diameter of the circle is going to be 5 millimeters. Now, if you look at SketchUp, however, it wants it in radius. So then obviously I'm looking to do 2.5 for my radius, which will get me to my 5. Alright, so when this pops up, number of segments too large for the given angle and radius, that means that 48 was way too many for that small of a circle, because remember our Lego block is very, very small. And so it kind of pre-shrunk it to its size that would work. So we'll just continue doing that same thing here. Another circle, and it automatically goes to 2.5, which is great. I could go ahead and keep drawing these. But what I want to do for you guys is just show you again another way to kind of make copies and speed the process up. So I hit the space bar to get my select tool, selected the first circle. Now I'm going to hold down shift so that little plus minus pops up. Select the second circle. Now I'm going to click M for move. Okay, now I've got these circles and I want to hit control one time and the plus pops up again, so now I'm making copies. We don't want it right there, we want to kind of skip one. There we go, and I'm going to do it again, same process. Again. And so now I have my space bar to click off that. Now I have my circles that I need. At this point, I do not need guidelines anymore. So I can go up here and delete all my guides. The next thing we're going to be doing is push-pulling each one of these little circles 2 millimeters up. So I grab my push-pull tool, which was the P key. Click on it, start dragging it up, then I'm going to type in 2 and enter. And now I can either click it once and infer it by doing this, or I can just double click and it's going to repeat it. So I'm double clicking each of these, and now I've got my raised circles here for the Lego block. So now we're going to make a watermark and kind of draw the bottom of our Lego block. So what we want to do now is pan to the bottom. We are going to offset our bottom, so that's this tool over here. The shortcut to get to the offset tool is F, so I can just click F, and I can, as long as my arrow is on the surface, it's going to work. But I can, by moving it around, it's letting me choose which edge that I offset from. So right there, it's going to be on the left-hand side, then it's on the front side, over on the right. Doesn't really matter for what this is doing, but you may need to someday offset to a particular thing, and then it becomes a little bit more important which edge you're going to. But for me, it doesn't really matter, and for you, click any edge just on that bottom surface, click it once, and then we're going to kind of move it in so it knows which way to go. Type 1.5, enter, and then I'm going to push-pull, so I hit the P key, I moved it up, and we're going to go up. Let's make that 7 millimeters. So we're going to go up 7 millimeters, and there we are, we have a new surface. Okay, so at this point, orbit to the bottom, or you can go up to your camera and go to standard views and get a good view of the bottom there. Only thing for me is I'd like to kind of get a little bit of a side view like this. Okay, now we're going to create a watermark. How do we do that? We use this 3D text tool. Click that, and you're going to get a dialog box that will appear here. Mine's a little bit slow today. It's kind of lagging. Then this box pops up. This is what we want to kind of mess with. So when you first click it, this is highlighted. We want to change that. Type in your last name. You can go that. You can go all lowercase. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go all uppercase. And then I can choose my font. Let's highlight it again. So as I kind of then, you can go to any font you want. Have fun with it, or if you don't care, you can just go with what's selected, you know, things like that. Where's just an easy one here? I'm not too worried about it for mine, so I'm just going to pick a kind of a bigger, bold one. So I went with Grady there. Regular, we want that. Centered is totally up to you. If you want it to the left, right, doesn't matter. I'm going to stick with centered. Height is what's important. Yours may be a really large number. Remember on our Lego block, from here to here is only 16 millimeters, and from here to here is 32. So if this number is like 200, it's going to be way too big. So let's try 8 millimeters on that one. We do want it to be filled. If it were to be extruded, if this is checked, it's going to make that text a full three-dimensional thing. We don't want that for what we're doing. We want it just two-dimensional. So uncheck that. That makes this box that we can't write in it. Then I'm going to hit place. And there's where I want it. I want it on this surface. But mine is clearly not facing the right way. So once I click to place it on that surface, it takes me right to the move tool. I never had to click M or anything like that. And we want to kind of spin that now. And by going on these little red crosses, we can do that. So I'm going to grab it there, and I'm going to spin it. And you can see over here, we have our angle that we're going to spin it. So if I want it this way, -90. If I want it like this, I'd probably go, we don't want anything, you don't want to just be close. You know, 179, that's close. We don't want that. We want it exact. This way would be, 90. So I want it like this. So I'm going to go with -90. Even though I'm close right there, I'm going to override it by typing in the keys. -90, enter. And now I'm going to move it so that it's in the middle. Okay? So we got that set up now. That's where I want it. But what we got to do now is we're going to do some erasing. And we've not done much of this in terms of, very specific deleting. We're going to do that by going to the select tool or just pressing the space bar. I want to get rid of this line, this line, this line, pretty much all these ones that we made by push-pulling the surface. And we're going to end up redrawing these again shortly. I don't want that. I clicked the surface there. I don't want that. But all of these lines here, so I've got them all pre-selected. And now I'm going to delete those. And you can see that now it kind of looks like hollow. That's what we're going for. We got a little bit more deleting to do. And now I'm going to do that in a different way. Instead of selecting them with my select tool here, I'm going to press E. And that gives me the erase tool. And I'm going to get rid of these lines, almost healing the bottom of our Lego block. And then we're going to go back to a normal view on top. And that name should kind of disappear. So here's why it's a watermark. It's an invisible way to kind of make this your own. To check to see that it's there, I can go to View and go down to Face Style, and then I want to see X-ray. And this is what I'll be doing when I check your work. And it's actually floating 1 millimeter below the surface, so that you can't see it. But when I go to X-ray, I'll be able to see your name. All right. So we want to get rid of that X-ray style. So we'll go back, hit it again, uncheck it. Now we're good to go. Let's continue drawing the bottom of our rectangle. Our watermark is in place. We need to make some more guidelines here. So this time, I'm going to click on this one and divide it by 4 instead of 8. So I go to divide, click 4, enter. Divide, 4, enter. And I don't have to do the ends this time. Now I'm going to make some guidelines, so I click T, go down here. Looking for the green dot to pop up. There it is. That tells me that I'm at an end line. There's another one. And our final one is, I went too far. There it is. So we got that. We want to make one in the middle. Click here. And I'm just going to go to the midpoint. So there we are. And we got our guidelines on the bottom. And we're going to be making some more circles and some more offsetting and things like all along there. So this is a little bit easier way to do it, I think. There's definitely other ways to do it that I think are a little bit harder, but this is what I find to be the easiest. So let's draw our circles first. Click on the C key or go over to your tools and choose the circle one. And we now want these to be the same size as above for now. So we want a 6 millimeter circle, which means I have to type in the radius, which is 3. Got that one. 3 again, and 3 one final time. And now we need a kind of a second circle on the inside of these. So we go back to our center line, and instead of going all the way out there, we want to be a little bit short. And we're going to go 2.5 for our radius. So that's going to give us an inner circle with a diameter of 5. So there's that. 2.5, enter. 2.5, enter. So we've kind of got our circles drawn now. And now we need to redo our offset that we kind of erased, but we're not going to pull it as deep as we did before. So again, to offset, click F. Doesn't matter which side. And I want to do 1.5 again. And hit enter. And now this is the surface that we're going to be push-pulling away. So, click P. Oops. I've already got this outside rim selected, and so it's kind of predetermining that that's the one I have to push-pull. I don't want that. So I simply go back to Select Tool by hitting the spacebar, click off my image, and now I'm going to push-pull again, and I get all my different surfaces to choose from. Let's start with kind of the bigger inner part of our rectangle, and we want to go up 6 millimeters. Push-pull that out of the way. I want the inner part of the circle to be the same, so I can click there and go over there to inference it. And you can see that that went to the right thing. Or I can just double-click, and it goes to that same depth. And now we want to get rid of our guidelines again. So I go in and delete guides. It's up to you. These marks here, these lines you see right there, those are kind of left over from dividing this line. If you don't like them, I don't really like the look of them, so I'm just going to click on the erase tool and I'm going to get rid of them. And that's going to heal those surfaces, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do the same exact thing. And now I have my Lego block that is completely finished. So, it's up to you guys, but growing up where I grew up, we always had different colors. So why don't you go ahead and have some fun with the paint bucket. I hit B for paint bucket. Whoops. So B gives me the paint bucket. I want to be in colors, so I went over there instead of in bricks and everything. I'm going to go to colors named, and that will bring up my colors there. And we're almost done with this block here. I'm just kind of waiting on my computer to catch up with me. I don't remember off the top of my head what the 2x4 block was. I'm going to make mine a nice blue. So there's blue, and I'm going to have to go around and paint each surface. That's one way to do it, by selecting those, but if I undo those, and I go back to my select tool, which is the arrow, and I triple click the whole thing, and now I get my paint bucket tool and select blue, and I can just click one thing and it makes everything blue. So that's a little bit easier than having to go in and select each and every single surface to paint that. A little bit faster way. So the last thing we want to do is we're going to put a little bit of a name signature on the top. And we're going to use our 3D tool again. So let's get ourselves a good top view. I'm going to zoom in. Okay. Oh, and so that's by pushing on the scroll wheel, it lets me orbit. And if I just hit the shift key while I'm doing this, it changes into a kind of moving the screen with my orbiting thing. And so that's a nice way to do that, is just hit that shift key and move it how you want it. Alright, so 3D text. We're going to place this again, and this time we're going to do a couple of different things. We're going to do 2 separate placements. So we're going to type Lego, all caps, and let's get a kind of a more normal font, if you will. So I'm going to go all the way up to the A's, and I'm just going to select Arial Black, so it's a little bit bolder version. We're going to want this very small. I don't even know. Let's see. Let's try 1 and see if that's the right size. This time I do want it extruded, and let's just start with 0.5. We're going to see how this looks. We might come back in and change this. But for now we're going to do 1 millimeter high, and we're going to extrude it 0.5 millimeters. That doesn't look too bad. That might be extruded a little too much. So let's try it again. So I'm going to Control Z undoes that, and we're going to place more 3D text here. Wait for my window to pop up. Here we go. All caps, Lego. And I felt like this was just too much. So let's actually go 0.1. There we go. And you can see that now it actually has a dimension to it. And that's what extruding means, is putting that on there. We want to do our best to get that as centered as much as possible. When we move it, we can just kind of select it. Still, we're on our move tool. And that looks pretty good to me as far as centered left to right goes. And then we are going to add our last name under it. So we go add another 3D text spot. So I'll wait for my window again. We're going to do our last name again, and I'm making mine a little different. And I kind of would like maybe like a handwriting. So let's go down here and find something. If you're fine with it being the same text, that's totally fine. We're going to make it smaller. Well, let's do it this way. So I'll place it at this size, and then we're going to learn a new tool. This tool over here is called the scale tool. You can go over here and click on this, or I can just hit the S key, and our options pop up again here in order to change things. Changing the size of this all depends on where I click. If you click right in the middle over here, it just shrinks it all together. If I click up here, it's going to make it thinner also while I'm shrinking the size. All sorts of control. I don't really want to do all that yet. I just want to kind of change the left to right and the top to bottom. So I'm going to grab this top over here, and I'm shrinking it, and that's probably pretty good. A little too tall for me. So now I can go over here, and I can just kind of bring it down if I want. The other way to do that, of course, would be to open that up and to push-pull it and things like that. We don't need to do all that. So what I'm going to do is simply go to my scale tool. I can grab it right in the center even. That gives me some really good control. Make it even smaller. So now we've got our name there. I'm going to hit the M for the move tool. And now, maybe I made that a little too small, but that's fine. You get the idea. Okay, so we have, we want to put this on all these though, right? So with that select tool, the arrow tool, I select that one. I'm going to hold shift so that I can also select your last name. And now they're kind of grouped together. And let's make a move now. And this is where I think it's kind of nice to do this, to leave this. I'm actually going to reference the edge so that it's exactly the same. So to move it, I'm going to go down here to where that end point was when we divided our line. So now I'm going to be really accurate with my move. And I'm just moving it. I don't want to do that. I want to make a copy so I can hit the control key on the keyboard at any time. And I want to go right to this end point. And now I've made copies. So let's go back to select, which is the space bar. Select this and this. And now I have all of those selected. M. We're going to make some more copies. So I hit M, tap to the control key. Got all those. I'm going to tap the space bar to get my select tool. I'm going to get all these again. Now I've got all 4 selected. Go back to M. Tap the control key to make copies instead of... That's not far enough. I want to go one more endpoint to endpoint. And now I know they're all the exact same, locked in. And I want to make sure everything gets painted blue. So I selected everything by dragging a window. Okay, and then my paint bucket tool is already on blue. There we go. Select tool, click off of it. And really your Lego block is now... Let's go ahead and get in this habit too. Select everything, and let's make it a component. Lego 2x4 block. And then we will hit create, and now it's all locked together. So if you want to see with your watermark and things like that, we can go up here to view, and we go to face style, X-ray, and now you can see the watermark is underneath. I can see all the way through everything. And your Lego block is now complete. The last thing that I want to remind you to do, let's go to File, and we're going to hit Save As, and you're going to name your file. So Lego 2x4 dash, and then type your name in there, and wherever you want to save it. If you want to save it on your desktop, whatever you want to do, just hit save, and you are now finished with your Lego 2x4 block. Kind of forgot about this. We also need to draw a 1x1 block. I would recommend drawing those separately, and so we're going to kind of just piggyback this drawing, and we're going to actually open up a completely separate one and do it a little bit differently. So hopefully you've already file save as, and save this however you want. Lego 2x4 dash Grady. Where do I want to put mine? We'll just put it here. In mine, this is a different folder I use that I can kind of work with at home. So we'll put it in nothing over there. All right. That's saved. Okay. Control new. I've got a completely new screen. It's untitled because it's a new thing. And I now have two kind of SketchUp things going. So let's draw our 1x1. We're going to use almost the same process here, just some different measurements. Rectangle tool, which is R. And we are going to go to an 8x8 square. So 8, 8. And it is very, very small. So we need to zoom in. There we go. A little bit better size now. And we're going to push-pull this thing 8 up as well. So it's 8x8x8. All right, there's there. We don't have to do the line dividing for this because really we only have to divide them in half, and our midpoints are there for us anyway. So I click T to get my guideline creator, tape measure tool. So this is why we don't have to divide it. I can just go to the midpoint here. Did that one, and I want to go and do the other one. So now I've got my center line, and we got to place our circle. So we hit the C. And remember, this was a 6 diameter, so it wants radius. I type 3, enter, and now we have this, and this is going to be 2 millimeters high. So I hit the P key to get my push-pull tool, and we're going to bring that up 2 millimeters, and that's all done. I can get rid of. We're going a lot faster here, so you might have to pause it. I can get rid of my guidelines, and I've got kind of the beginning of this. And we're going to make the same thing. We're going to put watermarks in it. Everything's the same way. Let's start up here doing this. So let's go back to our 3D text placement. And we'll do our Lego and our last name, and then we'll do our watermark later on. Okay. So it's already in the cursive. We'll remember that. We'll come back to it. Let's go back to Arial. A little too far there. Arial black, all caps. Whoops. I started typing before I had it all set up there. Arial black. Now I go up here. Select everything. Lego. All this is good. Place that. I'm going to kind of eyeball that. See how I do. Looks like I could do a little bit more there. That's pretty good. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Place another one. And here I'll put my last name under it. Waiting for my dialog box. There we go. And I believe brush script was what we used last time. There it is. Place that. We needed to scale it, so I hit the S key. Thought I made it a little too small last time, so we'll leave it about like this. And we'll just go a little bit, not quite as extruded. Go back to my move tool, so I click the M. We'll see how that looks. Pretty good. Okay, so the top of it's done. Let's get our watermark ready to put on there. So F for offset, off to the side. Whoops. F for offset. 1.5. And we're going to, whoops. So we're going to push-pull the center here up 6, if you remember. That's where we want to place our watermark. So we go back here. And remember, on our watermark, we don't want it extruded. So we don't want it 3 dimensions. As we type in our last name, and you can pick any font you want for your watermark again, we don't want it extruded. I'm going to pick something a little bit of a thicker font there. No extrusions. Let's see what that looks like in there. Not bad. So now we want to start doing some deleting. Pick that, holding down the Shift key as I select these lines. Still holding it down, getting all, what are they, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this would be 8. Delete those. Now we need to click E for erase and get rid of our lines up here. And remember to double check that. We go up to View, Face Style, X-Ray, and she's just floating in there. That's what we want. Okay. All right. Now we got to kind of redo this. I think I made a mistake there now that I'm looking at it. I don't think I push-pulled that enough. So let's see if we can move it while in X-ray mode. So I get move, excuse me. Make sure I really carefully select that. I want to make sure it goes up. So I'm going to click the up arrow, and that, see how that got kind of a thicker dotted blue line there? That means I'm locked into it moving up and down on the up axis. So let's move it up 1 more millimeter and hit enter. So now I know it's going to be in the middle of that surface. Now I had it a little bit too low. All right, let's get out of X-ray and let's fix our bottom. This bottom's a little bit easier to draw because we don't have the circles in it. So on the bottom we're going to hit offset. So I hit F, doesn't matter which side. 1.5, okay. And now we're going to push-pull the interior surface. We want to move that up 6. And that is it for this one. We don't need a circle in this little 1x1 block. So there's that. I'm going to hit my select tool. I hit spacebar. I'm going to drag a window over it. I've got everything selected and I can paint it now. So I'm going to hit B for paint bucket. And I can pick a different color. I used blue already. So let's go with just green on this one. I don't even know. Were there green yellow blocks? I know there were red. Let's do red instead. Keep going down. Where's my red at? There's red. Let's do red instead. Select so I can get back to my select tool. Right click. I'm going to make it a component. I don't remember how we titled the last one. Not too important. 1x1 Lego block, as long as it's a component. Create. And there's our other component. And we can check to make sure that our watermark is still there by now, going into our face style again, X-ray. And there's everything that we need. All right, so same thing. File, save as. I'm going to put mine in the same place I had my other ones. I can scroll down to kind of look at what I called the other one. I did Lego block 2x4. So let's go Lego, oh no block, Lego 1x1 dash Grady. So you'll do the same thing, Lego 1x1 with your last name on it. All right. Guess I kind of lied to you guys again. One more thing I thought maybe I might as well show you. So now I've had you guys along with me. We've created 2 drawings here. Got it saved. So I can go ahead and cross this out and go to, this is for my screencast. You don't need that. But let's open up now a Google Classroom assignment. And what you would simply be doing is you'd go to Google Classroom. I'm going to have to open up a different class where I'm a student in it so that you guys can see what yours would look like from the student side. So I'm going to sign in just like you guys do all the time. Sorry that my computer's going slow. I'm trying to make this last little part fast. Okay, type in your email address, your Birch Run Schools one. Type in your password, Google Classroom. So you would be going to whatever industrial design class you're in for this one, or if it's a different class, and opening up this assignment. I'm going to go to one where I'm a student. This is one that I'm in with Mrs. Williams. Let's see, does she have an assignment on here? Nope, let's go back to a different one. All of us high school people are in here. So here we have an assignment. This was a Power Standards thing that Mr. Berkmeyer assigned to all of us teachers. So I open it up, and here is, well, I guess it's not even letting me, where's it? There's got to be an assignment where I can attach something. That's a question. Sorry about all this. Here we go. This is what yours will look like. It'll have these options. So when you find the assignment for Lego blocks, you're going to open this up, make sure you open it, and then we're going to go add. And we want to add files from our computer. So that's right in the middle here. Select files from your computer. I select that. You guys, maybe you saved it on desktop. Maybe you saved it somewhere else where you know where it is. Mine was right in Dropbox. So I select that, and there they are over there, and I actually want to add both of them. Okay? Add more files. I did the 1x1, now let's do the 2x4. And they're both there. Okay? Let's see if this will work. I think you may be able to select both of them at the same time. So I hit there, I hold shift, I got both of them selected. They both popped up, so I can do it all in one swoop. You can do it either way you want. And then we're going to hit upload. Might take just a second. And then we're waiting for these bars to stop. Once they're there, then you just hit turn in. Both of those pop up there, confirm it, turn it in, and it will say that everything is turned in, and you're all done. All right, so now I am done. And hopefully you guys, this went smoothly for you. Hopefully we get better each time as well. All right.